Hello, and welcome back to a Snapshot review. This is for 1.20.3 and overall 1.21, and we're going to start with the 1.20.3 stuff as we usually do. And the first one is actually a really fun one because it actually fits around the current time, seeing as it's almost Halloween. And that is the new bat texture. So I'm gonna place a couple bats here, and you will see that there's a new texture for these little guys. So you'll see that it's overall a bigger model, and there's a whole lot more details in the bat as well. And it's purely a visual thing, so the bat doesn't have any new drops or anything. It just looks better than what's on screen right now. Alright, so this next one, before we jump into all of that stuff there, is actually a change with the Ender Pearl. Well, specifically the Ender Pearl when it lands. So before it wouldn't have a very distinct sound. Now, if I throw it, you hear the teleport sound. And that is the new addition for the Ender Pearl, and that's basically everything for 1.20.3. So now it's time to do a little bit of a throwback to my first Snapshot review. So if you remember, if you've seen it, it's basically where I took more of a builder's approach to the blocks rather than any other approach, and I'm going to basically do the same thing here. We're just going to start with the tough stuff because I think that's been in the game a little bit longer, even though technically they've both been in for the same amount of time. We're still going to start with the tough just because there's more, and I think it's actually a little bit more interesting. So there's new regular tough stairs, so now you can actually get the tough stairs and slabs just with the regular texture. I think that is something that we should have had since it was introduced. And then we have polished tough, which is just by itself this texture here. It actually seems to resemble a lot like the polished granite stuff. So if I look in here, like diorite, granite, deep slate not as much, but a little bit, the andesite, these three here are what it reminds me the most of, just for me, but it's actually quite a new and interesting block. I think it looks clean, it looks not too bad. This other texture here, the original tough, I wasn't a huge fan of when it first came out, but I think I've grown a little bit of a liking to it. This right here is chiseled tough. So the side has this little like swirl pattern, which actually looks kind of cool. The top has this other, like this bigger swirl texture, and then for the bottom texture, let me actually get that. It's just the same thing, but this actually looks really cool. In my opinion, I like the wall. I think I like specifically this texture. I don't know what I'd use it in though. It almost seems kind of like a decent floor texture. Like put this kind of in a every other kind of style with another block, and it might look good. But I'm not quite sure what I would use that top texture for. The side texture is actually a pretty good detail block. It could be used for a whole lot of things. One could be like kind of like showing that there's two paths. Like you could have just like a block there. If I just grab some polished tough, this is just like right off the top of my head. So let's say you were in a maze. you would have this one that could say you can go this way, and this one here that says you could go this way, and it could also be kind of like a hint as to like how it's laid out or something. There's a whole lot of creative ways that you could use this block, I think. So I think it looks pretty cool anyways, and that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I did also forget to mention that Tough, the regular Tough has a wall, just a regular wall, just a Tough wall, and there's that right there, as well as the polished Tough having itself a wall as well, kind of like the like the other polished blocks that exist in your regular stony Minecraft world. Now, the last bit of polished, or not polished, the last group of Tough blocks are the Tough bricks. And of course you get the stairs, the slabs, and the walls as per usual. You also get the brick block, which is this one here, which is, it reminds me a lot of just the regular other bricks that you see. I kind of like the colors of it. It kind of stands out. It almost looks like it's old, but not like super old. It's not like mossy stone bricks, but it's getting close to that. Or it's like it seems kind of like an older kind of texture, if that makes a little bit of sense. It may not, and I'm sorry if it doesn't, but it kind of reminds me of it being like a little bit older. That's kind of what I see from it. And then you have chiseled Tough bricks, and again, the chiseled variants are just the blocks itself, pretty much like all of the chiseled variants in this game always are. They're just the blocks. And we saw all of these blocks here in the Minecraft Live trailer as part of the dungeon or whatever. The I can't remember what it's called. I'm sure it'll be coming to Snapshots pretty soon. But I do like this side texture here. It looks pretty decent. And then this top texture, actually, I like. Kind of, it's kind of like this other chiseled Tough, is that I like the top texture better than the side texture. Not that the side textures are bad, I just like the top textures more. Top and bottom textures. And that's really all it is. I just like the top textures more. I can't really explain why. They just look good. That's really all I have to say about them. Alright, now we have the copper bulb stuff, and I actually forgot to power one of these so that you could see just that, well, the copper stuff, but I forgot to power the bulb so that you could see the lighted texture. There's a whole lot of stuff. We've seen all of these new blocks as well in the future structure. This one is the chiseled copper. So this texture kind of reminds me of a building with like the supports that look kind of like this, where it's like an X and then it's a layer and then it's another X and it just keeps going up to the top of the building, and that's kind of what it reminds me of. If that's what they were going for, great, because they did a great job on it. If it wasn't, oh well, that's still kind of what it looks like to me. Here we have the copper grate. Again, we saw this, and all of these can be waxed as well. All of this copper stuff can all be waxed, and it all oxidizes and all of that, and just everything that you would expect copper to do. The copper grate is kind of like a glass, but also kind of looks pretty good as just kind of a walkway, kind of like a girder walkway kind of thing. If you could see that, if you can see what I'm saying, that's great. but sometimes I'm not very good at explaining things, so please let me know down in the comments, out of 10, how good am I at explaining things. So that's kind of what I think of this one. It's a transparent block, it's like glass, it's got basically all of those properties, and that's about it. The door and trapdoor are just door and trapdoor, and so there's not anything really special with them except that they oxidize and they have this unique texture you can see here. They can be opened like this. As you can see, they can just be like a wooden door opened, and they are also powered by redstone if you want to power them with redstone. And then we have the copper bulb, easily the most complicated of them all. So with the copper bulb, it's a little bit hard to go purely with a builder's mindset, because, well, there's redstone intuned with it, as you can see by this dot here. So the regular texture, when it's not being powered by a lever, so being powered just means that there's a redstone signal going into it, seeing as this one's off and has that little red dot. So personally, I prefer this texture here, but I think having this little dot here is pretty but I think having the dot here is a good thing, because it lets redstone players know that there's a signal going into it. Other than that, there's not really too much to say about how about how it looks. The one thing I will say though is that you will want to wax it at one of the 4 stages, because again, it oxidizes and the light level changes. I believe that the changes are like 12 or full 12. I can't remember the next one, and then it's like 4 or 7 or something like that. And you have to power it in order to turn it on, and if I power it, you'll see that it turns off. If I unpower it, the red dot goes away. I power it, and it turns back on with the dot. And that's just how that works. Alright, so the nearly fully weathered copper bulb, so the weathered one, this one here, this has a light level of 8 when it's powered on, and that's what that level is. So the regular one is 15, the exposed one's the lightly weathered, as it used to be called way back when, was at 12. The one I just showed you is at 8, and oxidized has 4. The copper bulb has a very strange crafting recipe. So, okay, so let me show you the crafting recipe for this this new copper bulb. So you will need 3 blocks of copper of any weathering type, as long as they're all the same. Then a blaze rod in the middle, and a piece of dust at the bottom here, and that's the crafting recipe. I don't fully understand why it's blaze rod there. I guess just to give the blaze rod another use other than for brewing stands and blaze powder, even though if you want to make potions, you'll be getting a lot of these anyways. If you're not making a lot of potions, you probably don't get a lot of these, so keep in mind that these are very expensive, and it requires the redstone dust, which makes sense because of the little dot in the center there. That makes sense as part of the recipe. Alright, and for the very last thing, for both of these blocks, you can, so for the tough specifically, you can make all of the tough stuff within the stone cutter like you would with any other stone, and the block of copper, you can make everything except for the copper bulb because of that crafting recipe. So just so that you people are, just so that everyone is aware. Oh, I cannot speak. Just so everyone is aware that you can use the stone cutter. And if you were to want to make these chiseled tough variants, you'll need the slabs. So either the tough slabs for this one, 2 of these, and just right above each other. So just like that for the chiseled tough, if you want that in the crafting table or you don't have a stone cutter, and then chiseled tough bricks is to the slabs vertically like that. I think that's pretty much universal with all other chiseled stuff. I could be wrong, but I think it's usually that like 2 slabs or 2 somethings right above each other that make the chiseled variant. So I don't think I've missed anything. If I have, I'm very sorry, because I do try to get pretty much everything that's going to be in the main update. I don't really know how many of you actually care about like different tweaks, like the bug fixes, is what I was trying to say there. I don't know how many of you actually care about those, so I don't usually cover them unless they are pretty important. And so I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye!